Hey guys, welcome to ABMBBS. Today's topic is primary healthcare. Now, this is a topic which is quite complicated in the PARK textbook. But in this video, we have condensed the chapter and given only the must-know points. First up, what is the definition of primary healthcare? Primary healthcare is the essential healthcare made universally accessible to individuals and acceptable to them through their full participation and at a cost the country and community can afford. Now, the definition in itself is pretty complicated and is bound to make you nauseous. But if you break it down just to the main points, then it gets pretty simple. Remember that primary healthcare consists only of the bare essentials of healthcare needs. It is the bare minimum which needs to be given in any medical condition. Secondly, primary healthcare must be accessible to the people to whom it is being given. A big tertiary care hospital located some 20 kilometers away from the patient's home cannot be considered to be primary healthcare. Thirdly, primary healthcare that is given must be acceptable to the patients. A rectal exam or a colonoscopy might not be acceptable to the majority of the population and should not be considered as primary health care. The community to whom the primary health care is being given must be actively involved in the process. Without their full participation, primary health care cannot be truly given. Finally, the healthcare that is given in primary healthcare must be in accordance to the economic conditions of the country. Next, we come to the principles of primary healthcare. Number 1 is equitable distribution. The majority of the healthcare services in India are concentrated in the towns and cities, whereas the rural areas which needs healthcare services more hardly have any. Primary healthcare aims to redress this imbalance by focusing on the rural areas and bringing these services as close to the people's home as possible. Number 2 is community participation. As mentioned earlier, without the full participation of the local population, discharging healthcare needs is not possible. So, Government of India is training village health guides and local DIs from the local community itself. These people, being localites, can overcome cultural and communication barriers more easily. Number 3 is intersectoral coordination. Government of India has realized that primary healthcare cannot be provided by the health sector alone. The different wings of the government must come together and work in an integrated fashion. Number 4 is appropriate technology. Now, it goes without saying that the government spending on healthcare is extremely low and our public healthcare institutions do not have the money for doing costly diagnostic tests and treatment. So, primary healthcare in India must rely on low budget technologies. One such technology is ORS. It is a low cost treatment for diarrhea and dehydration. It can be stored anywhere and hardly has any side effects. Next, we come to the levels of primary healthcare. First is the primary level. It is the first level of contact between the healthcare setup and the patient. It includes sub-center and primary health center. The secondary level is the first referral level. It includes community health center. Finally comes the tertiary level, which is the second referral level. It includes medical colleges and hospitals. So now let's talk about sub-center in detail. This one. It is the most peripheral and first contact point between the healthcare facility and the patient. It has 3 employees, the health worker male, the health worker female, and voluntary worker. Also, the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare provides 100% funding for sub-centers. Next, we talk of primary health center. It is the first point of contact between the village community and the doctor. It has a staff strength of 15 people, including a medical officer, a medical health assistant, which can be both male or female. The medical officer is considered to be the leader of the team at the PHC. Each PHC or primary health center acts as a referral center for 6 sub-centers, and they have a bed strength of 4 to 6 beds. Next, we talk of community health center. Here, the staff strength is 30, including 4 specialist doctors, which include a physician, a surgeon, a gynecologist, and a pediatrician. 3 additional new posts have been created under the NRHM. It includes an ophthalmic surgeon, an anesthetist, and a public health program manager. Each CHC acts as a referral center for 4 PHCs, and they have a bed strength of 30. So let's consolidate what we have learned so far in a table. The level of care in sub-center and PHC is primary, whereas in CHC it is secondary. Each sub-center caters to a population of 5,000 in the plains and 3,000 in the hills. Each PHC caters to a population of 30,000 in the plains and 20,000 in the hills. Finally, each CHC caters to the population of 1,20,000 in the plains and 80,000 in the hills. The total number of staff in a sub-center is 3, in a PHC is 15, and in a CHC is 30. Finally, we should remember that the sub-center is under the central government, whereas the 2 others are under the state government. Next, we come to some population norms. This topic is not a must know, but it falls under what I call as good to know category. Government of India recommends that there should be 1 doctor per 3,500 population, 1 nurse per 5,000, 1 health worker per 5,000 people in the plains and 3,000 in the hills, 1 health assistant per 30,000 people in the plains and 20,000 people in the hills, 1 pharmacist per 10,000 people, 1 lab technician per 10,000, 1 ASHA per 1,000, a trained birth assistant per 1,000, a village health guide per 1,000, and finally an Anganwadi worker per 400 to 800 people in the plains and 300 to 800 people in the hills. Now, you might ask, what is an ASHA or an Anganwadi worker? I will discuss about them in my next video. I will end this video by talking about trained birth assistant and village health guide. Now, remember, a village health guide is not a government employee. She is a person with an aptitude for social service. She must be a resident of the concerned village where she is working and must be a female. She must be educated at least till 6th standard. She receives training at a local PHC for 200 hours spread out over 3 months. During this time, she receives an honorarium of 200 rupees per month. After her training is over, she receives a working manual and drugs worth 600 rupees. She must devote 2 to 3 hours per day for this work, and she is paid rupees 50 per month for her efforts. Next, we come to the topic of trained birth assistant or trained DAI as they are popularly known. Trained DAIs undergo training for 30 days. During this time, 2 days a week they undergo training at a local PHC, and rest 4 days they accompany the health worker female for field work. She must conduct at least 2 deliveries under guidance during this period, and she is paid rupees 300. After her training is over, she receives a delivery kit and a certificate. Finally, coming to an important question from this chapter that teachers often love to ask. What does the medical officer in a PHC do? Well, the medical officer is the captain of the PHC team. He attends the outdoor in the morning and does field work in the afternoon. He plans and implements the Universal Immunization Program or the UIP and ensures cold chain for vaccines. He implements the IMNCI. He regularly visits schools and sub-centers in his area and organizes medical camps. He also organizes training of health personnel like ASHA, Anganwadi worker training drives. This brings us to the end of this video. You can also watch the other videos in this channel. The link is available right here. Guys, thank you for watching this video. Please do not forget to like, share and subscribe if you like our work. The ABMBBS community is growing at a phenomenal rate and we are truly grateful to you. We believe that medical education should be fun and free for everyone. Bye-bye and happy learning.